Hey, Tommy here, and we are reading The Magic Ladder to Success by Napoleon Hill. And yeah, this book is awesome. Um, it's his first book, Napoleon Hill's first book. And today we're going to read the lesson 10, The Personality of Success. What he recommends in this book is always to have a pencil and paper ready. And what I will recommend here is be ready to pause and write some things down and then continue listening. Obviously, one of the main lessons he talks about is the mastermind and harmonizing with your intention and the group you're masterminding with. So in this mastermind, or I intend, caught me there in some word twirls. What I intend for this moment here is to be a mastermind of you there in the future, me here in the past, and sending over into this space just the intention that you get some great ideas, maybe some epiphanies, and you give it a pause, you write it down, and then you keep listening. And, maybe you take care of those today. If not today, maybe tomorrow, but let's give it a go. Lesson 10, the personality of success. Pleasing personality, the personality of success, is a personality that does not antagonize. Personality cannot be defined in one word or with half a dozen words, for it represents the sum total of all one's characteristics, good and bad. Excuse me. Your personality is totally unlike any other personality. It is the sum total of qualities, emotions, and characteristics, appearances, and so on that distinguish you from all other people on earth. Your clothes form an important part of your personality. The way you wear them, the harmony of colors you select, their quality, and many other details all indicate much that is intrinsically a part of your personality. Psychologists claim that they can accurately analyze any person in many important respects by turning that person loose in a clothing store that sells a great variety and where the subject has instructions to select the clothes freely. Your facial expression, there was a dating show where the guys would go pick for the gals and the gals would go pick for the girls, and different episodes. But yeah, that was interesting. You could really see what was on, the daters' minds. That makes me think of that. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we choose the things we want based on types of personalities we have. Your facial expression, as shown by the lines of your face or the lack of lines, forms an important part of your personality. Your voice, its pitch, tone, and volume, and the language you use form important parts of your personality because they mark you instantly once you have spoken as a person of refinement or the opposite. The manner in which you shake hands constitutes an important part of your personality. If, when shaking hands, the hand you offer is limp and lifeless as a dead fish, you are displaying a personality that shows no sign of enthusiasm or initiative. Yeah, I think that's a giveaway, But ultimately, you don't need to give a really strong handshake, really clench someone's hand, but just really be present in that handshake and, be firm like, hey, I'm a human here, you're a human there. A pleasing personality usually may be found in the person who speaks gently and kindly, selecting refined words that do not offend, in a modest tone of voice, who selects clothing of appropriate style and colors that harmonize. One who is unselfish and not only willing to, but desirous of serving others, who is a friend of all humanity, the rich and the poor alike, the regardless of politics, religion, or occupation, who refrains from speaking unkindly of others, either with or without cause, who manages to converse without being drawn into vulgar conversations or useless arguments on such debatable subjects as religion and politics, who sees both the good and the bad in people but makes due allowance for the latter, who seeks neither to reform nor to reprimand others, who smiles frequently and deeply, who loves music and little children, who sympathizes with all who are in trouble and forgives acts of unkindness, Who willingly grants others the right to do as they please, as long as no one's rights are interfered with? Who earnestly strives to be constructive in every thought and deed? Who encourages others and spurs them on to greater and better achievement in their chosen line of work? Who? Who? A pleasing personality is something that can be acquired by anyone who has the determination to learn how to negotiate his or her way through life without friction, with the object of getting along peacefully and quietly with others. One of the best known and most successful men in America once said that he would prefer a pleasing personality, as it is defined in this course, to the college degree that was awarded him more than 50 years ago by Harvard University. It was his opinion that a man could accomplish more with a pleasing personality minus the college degree than he could with a college degree minus the personality. The development of a pleasing personality calls for exercise of self control, because there will be many incidents and many people to try our patience and destroy your good resolutions. The reward is worthy of the effort, however, because one who possesses a pleasing personality stands out so boldly, compared with the majority of people, that his or her pleasing qualities become all the more pronounced. When Abraham Lincoln was a young man, he heard that a great lawyer, who was known to be an impressive orator, was to defend a client charged with murder some 40 miles from Lincoln's home. He walked the entire distance to hear this man, who was one of the spellbinders of the South. After he had heard the man's speech and the orator was on his way out of the courtroom, Lincoln stepped into the aisle, held out his rough hand, and said, "I walked 40 miles to hear you, and if I were to do it over, I would walk 100." The lawyer looked young Lincoln over, turned up his nose, and in a supercilious manner walked out without speaking to him. Years later, these two met once again, this time in the White House, where this self-same lawyer had come to petition the President of the United States on behalf of a man who had been condemned to death. Lincoln listened patiently to all the lawyer had to say, and when he had finished speaking, said, "I see you have lost none of your eloquence since I first heard you defend a murderer years ago, but you have changed considerably in other ways, because you now seem to be a polite gentleman of refinement, which was not the impression I got of you at our first meeting. I did you an injustice, perhaps, for which I now ask your pardon. Meanwhile, I shall sign a pardon for your client, and we will call accounts square." It's kind of true. Like, that first impression that you give, or, a lasting impression that you give, is very important. So sometimes we come to a place in time when we might be awarded a time to ask for forgiveness or give grace, give extra appreciation of someone that one was not able to do years ago. The lawyer's face turned white and red as he stammered a brief apology. By his lack of a pleasing personality at his first meeting with Lincoln, he was guilty of conduct that would have been costly to him had the incident happened with one less charitable than the great Lincoln. It has been said, and perhaps correctly, that courtesy represents the most valuable characteristic known to the human race. Courtesy costs nothing, yet it returns dividends that are stupendous if it is practiced as a matter of habit, in a spirit of sincerity. A young friend of the author of this philosophy was employed as a serviceman in one of the gas stations belonging to a large corporation. Oh, I remember this story. This one's good. One day, a big car drove up to his station, and the passenger stepped out while the chauffeur told the attendant what kind of gas he wanted. While the gas was being pumped, the wealthy passenger entered into conversation with my young friend. "Do you like your job?" the man inquired. "Like it? Hell," replied the young man. I like it just as much as a dog loves a tomcat. Well, said the stranger, if you do not like it, if you do not like your job, why do you work here? Because I'm just waiting for something better to turn up, was the quick rejoinder. How long do you think you will have to wait? The man inquired. I don't know how long, but I hope I soon get out of here because there is no opportunity here for a bright fellow like myself. Why, I'm a high school graduate, and I can hold a better position if I had it. Yes, said the stranger. If I offered you a better position than the one you now have, would you be any better off than you are now? I can't say, replied the young fellow. Well, replied the stranger, allow me to offer the suggestion that better positions usually come to those who are prepared to fill them. But I do not believe you are ready for a better position, at least not while you are in your present frame of mind. Perhaps there is a big opportunity for you right where you stand. Let me recommend. And here he recommended a motivational book of that year. It may give you an idea that will be useful to you all through life. The stranger got into his automobile and drove away. He was the president of the corporation that owned the gas station. The young man was talking to his employer without knowing it, and every word he uttered spoiled his chances of attracting favorable attention. Later, this same gas station was placed in charge of another young man, and it is one of the most profitable service stations operated by that company. The station is basically the same as it was before it was turned over to new management. The convenience store inside is exactly the same, the prices charged are the same, but the personality of the man who meets those who drive up to this station for service is not the same. Practically all success in life hinges in the final analysis on personality. A nasty disposition can spoil the chances of the best educated, and such dispositions do spoil not a few. I mentioned in maybe the previous video, oftentimes my jobs, they didn't even check my credentials when I especially right out of college. They just really appreciated how I acted. I don't know if it's because I was in scouting, because I danced on stage with the troupe, and that helped me, develop my personality that way. But it's true. You really got to have, and I'm not saying because I've had bad situations as well, and you have to realize, like, sometimes. I remember at one of my first management positions, I was like, whoa, after something happened, I was like, ooh, maybe I could have really done a little bit better with those customers. I really didn't mean to come off that way that I did. And though maybe 90% of the time I was really, doing as best as I could, maybe even more than that, to be fair. I really enjoyed, I really almost always enjoyed working, but there are times that I didn't really give off, that 100%, and maybe even less than 90 or 80. And I wish I could be sorry for those times, but this moment with this guy, I mean, it was his boss. Who knows? He didn't even know, or his employer at least, right? The big guy up top. Anyway, good showmanship, a part of personality. Life may be properly called a great drama in which good showmanship is of the utmost importance. Successful people in all callings are generally good showmen, meaning they practice the habit of catering or playing to the crowd. Let us compare some well-known historical figures from different areas on the subject of their ability as showmen. The following once enjoyed outstanding success in their respective callings because their genius and invention was heightened by their good showmanship. Theodore Roosevelt, Henry Ford, Thomas A. Edison, Billy Sunday, William Randolph Hearst, George Bernard Shaw. Following is a list of some well-known men, each famous for great ability but falling short on the score of good showmanship by comparison with the foregoing list. Woodrow Wilson, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Abraham Lincoln. The inclusion of Lincoln's name here proves that his other sterling qualities took over and placed him at the top of history's list, despite a lack of natural showmanship. A good showman is one who understands. That's interesting. I never really thought about. They could still be incredibly great person without great showmanship, but he's just, I guess, explaining this situation here. A good showman is one who understands how to cater to the masses. Success is not a matter of chance or luck. It is the result of careful planning and careful staging and able acting of parts by the players in the game. What is to be done about this defect by the man who is not blessed with a personality that lends itself to able showmanship? Is it such a person to be doomed to failure all his life because of nature's oversight in not blessing him with such a personality? Not at all. Here is where the principle of the mastermind comes to the rescue. Those who do not have pleasing personalities may surround themselves with men and women who supply this defect. The financier J.P. Morgan had a rather pugnacious attitude toward people that prevented him from being a good showman. But he associated himself with others who supplied all that he lacked in this respect. Henry Ford was not blessed by nature with native ability as a good showman, and his personality was not 100% perfect by a long way. But knowing how to make use of the mastermind principle, he bridged this defect by surrounding himself with men who did have such ability. What are the essential characteristics of good showmanship? First, the ability to appeal to the imagination of the public and to keep people interested and curious concerning one's activities. Second, a keen sense of appreciation of the value of psychological appeal through advertising. Yeah. Third, sufficient alertness of mind to enable one to capture and make use of the prejudices, likes, and dislikes of the public at the right psychological moment. Summary of factors constituting a pleasing personality. Following is a condensed description of the major factors that serve as the basis of a pleasing personality. 1. The manner of shaking hands. 2. Clothing and posture of the body. I'll be honest, I love wearing hoodies, but while I'm reading this chapter, I'm like, man, I gotta start just wearing, I like to wear collared shirts as well, collared shirts and hoodies or a blazer. Maybe I should just not be wearing hoodies. But, it's all about us, becoming better. That's the main thing about really all of it, I think. But with this reading and this mastermind we're creating here. 3, voice, its tone, volume, and quality. 4, tactfulness. 5, sincerity of purpose. 6, choice of words and their appropriateness. 7, poise. 8, unselfishness. 9, facial expression. 10, dominating thoughts, because they register in the minds of other people. Yeah, this one is, whoo! Like, I so always try, as much as possible, I'm trying to focus on exactly the words that are coming off here and, just good intention, because it's true. When you are speaking, whatever you're thinking about comes off in some certain way. Obviously, the words, but if you're not focused on those words at all and you're just thinking about something else, people aren't picking up that. But something you might not want to be picked up. Especially in like a big deal, when we talk about like doing deals in business. Or just, if it's not just a casual, even if it is just a casual buying a coffee at the cafe, 11, enthusiasm. There it is again. 12, honesty, intellectual, moral, and economic. 13, magnetism, high rate of vibration due to well-defined, healthy sexuality. If you wish to try an interesting and perhaps beneficial experiment, analyze yourself and give yourself a grading on each of these 13 factors of a pleasing personality. An accurate checkup on these 13 points might easily bring to your notice facts which would enable you to eliminate faults that make success impossible. It will also be an interesting experiment if you form the habit of analyzing those whom you know intimately, measuring them by the 13 points here described. Such a benefit will, in time, help you to find in other people the causes of both success and failure. I have a mentor, which one of the main things he teaches, if you were to start over again, is really researching people in their entirety. And reading that last paragraph, I thought about it, especially if they're people you are looking up to. You know, who are your 10 most people you look up to? And just researching them highly. What do they do? You know, I remember the first few times, or the first few mentors that just started being open about the times they wake up and go to sleep. I was like, been doing this all wrong. So I always recommend, what is said in the book, do that. And here I would also put that specific effort of analyze, people you hang around with and your family, and not in like a judging way, then just be like, hey, especially if they score low, like, hey, by the way, you scored so low on these, like, what are you going to do? You're going to be a D-bag about it to them? It's your opinion. It says something about yourself as well, doesn't it? So do that, but also maybe choose a couple people today that you look up to and just get a few major points about them that would help you grow. Like, oh gosh, what is this person's daily, actions? How do they run their business? I'm thinking about business mentors right now. Appreciate you. I hope you have a great day, and make sure to do those 2 assignments, or don't do them. But I know some people would really appreciate that. The 2 people that come to mind for me are Patrick Bet-David and Alex Hormozy, because one was the one that I truly, was like, whoa, he's going to sleep at that time and waking up at that time. And it was Hormozy, but it might be both of them. And I remember I was listening to Patrick Bet-David, and he was telling me specifically about, that sort of research. So ultimately, who you'd like to be like, you should do more researching of. I guess that's why biographies and autobiographies are a great way to connect more with your mentors. I hope you have a great day. I hope you continue on to the next part. And if this is the first one you started listening to, honestly, why not? Start from the beginning. The playlist is linked below. And make sure to have those epiphanies, write down those ideas, and take action with them.